In this video, I'm going to continue the notes of 5.5, but instead of focusing only on factoring, I'm going to now also solve. So we're doing the back part of our notes with the two examples of solving quadratic equations. So when they ask you to solve, they're asking you for when does the quadratic equation touch the x-axis. So for example, right here, you're looking for the zeros. And whenever you find the zeros, you need to understand that you're looking for the x value when y equals 0. So in an equation, whenever you're solving, you're looking for what x value can I plug in for this to equal 0. So if it doesn't equal 0, that's the first goal you want to have, is rewrite the equation in standard form for it to equal 0. So this first example, we're going to have to subtract 5 on both sides, so we can make it equal 0. And that will result in 6x squared plus 13x minus 5 equals 0. All right, so when an equation is already in that form of equal 0, you're going to now proceed with the steps of grouping. Ask yourself if there's a GCF. If there's not, don't force it, just keep going with the steps. So 6, 13, and negative 5, they do not have a common factor. 13 is a prime number, so other than 1, they don't have another number. So we check that step. Next step is to rewrite the expression with the two terms blank in the middle. So we're replacing the b value with two blank spaces, and then just copy down the a value, copy down the c value. And then these two blank spaces, once again, we can find those by either doing the X strategy of finding those numbers right here, or the table strategy, whichever one you prefer. So A times C is 6 times negative 5, which is negative 30. B value is that middle term, so that's 13. And then what two numbers do you multiply to get negative 30? So you kind of still end up doing a chart of the factors of A times C, so it doesn't hurt to create a chart if you want. Our goal is to get 13 as a combination. Does 1 and 30 give you 13? No. Next one is 2 times 15. 2 and 15, does that give you 13? It could give you 13 if you subtract. So maybe we can do 2 minus 15 or 15 minus 2. So the one that works is 15 minus 2. That's how you get 13. So this will work. Make sure you put your x next to them. 15 times negative 2 is negative 30, and 15 minus 2 is 13. We're going to write those numbers in this blank spaces. We're going to put positive 15x and negative 2x. All right, so we did this step right here, number 2, and then we also did step 3 by placing the numbers in there. So now let's do step 4. We're going to be doing the grouping with the parentheses around that. So we're going to put parentheses here in the first two terms and then parentheses here in the next two terms. And then after this, we do the GCF for this first one. So what do they both have in common that you could divide by? So 6 and 15 have 3 in common, and then they both have x. So 3x is your greatest common factor here. And then now you're going to ask yourself, what do I multiply 3x with to get these as answers? Or you can also ask yourself, if I divide 6x squared by 3x, what is my answer? So the answer to that is 2x. And then 3 times 5 will give you that 15. So 3x times 5 is 15x. So what you want to do next is copy down that binomial, because you want to repeat that binomial. And then now ask yourself, how can I get this as an answer if I have a number times this binomial? So negative 1 is the number that goes here, because negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x, and negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. And when you get this, once again, the factors will be the 2 that are by themselves. That will create one factor. And then the other one is the one that repeats, 2x plus 5. So the whole point of this is to factor so you can solve. So this is the process of factoring that was shown in the previous video if you want to practice that again. But now let's proceed to the last part, which is solving. So when you get to this part, you're going to rewrite each factor equal to 0. And then you're going to solve individually. So plus 1 cancels, you have 3x equals 1. Divide by 3, x equals 1/3. Next one, you have minus 5 on both sides. Cancels, 2x equals -5. And then you divide by 2, so x equals -5 over 2. These are your solutions. If you need a visual representation of this, you will have a quadratic equation that crosses the x-axis at -5 over 2 and positive 1/3. Okay, let's try the next example. Following the grouping strategy is the grouping method. So again, check if it equals 0 because you're trying to solve for x. It does. So next is the GCF. Is there a greatest common factor between these two? 4 and 9 do not have a greatest common factor. So then now we write ax squared with 2 blank spaces in between and then the c value at the end. So this ax squared and then bx needs to be in the middle. There's nothing with an x, so there's no b here. And then plus c. So -9 is your c. So you're going to write 4x squared, spaces in the middle, and then -9. So these spaces in the middle are found, once again, with the x. A times c, b. A times c is 4 times -9, which is -36. If there is no b value, that means that b is your 0. So what two numbers do you multiply to get -36, but when you combine, you get 0? That would be 6 times 6, but one of them has to be negative, because negative times positive is negative. And 6 minus 6 is 0. So positive 6x, make sure you put x's here, negative 6x. And then from here, you do your grouping with your parentheses. Find the greatest common factor of the first one. So 4 and 6 have a number 2 in common, along with an x. They both have x's, so 2x. And then 2x times 2x gives you 4x squared, and 2x times 3 gives you that 6x. From there, you leave a little space and repeat or rewrite that binomial. And then what number times 2 gives you -6x? That will be -3. And then -3 times +3 is -9. So from here, you write your two factors equal 0. One of the factors is the ones by themselves, so 2x minus 3. The other factor is the one that repeats. So these two are here, and then these two are here. And then you solve. So you're going to have 2x minus 3 equals 0. 2x plus 3 equals 0. Add 3. Cancels. 2x equals 3. Divide by 2. X equals 3 over 2. That's one solution. The other one is -3. 2x equals -3. Divide by 2. X equals -3 over 2. So the solution for this are these two values. That is a graph touching at positive and -3/2. I hope this video helps you with the process.